I'm going to start out by telling you that this is last on the agenda for lunch because Don insisted we needed time for the truck to unload the Kleenex. So here it goes. I do want to take the opportunity to recognize Michelle Hinson. Michelle had been with the Institute for 16 years before she departed early this year for an opportunity with the Cade Museum of Innovation and Invention in Gainesville, Florida. And I will tell you, over that 16, and that not only makes her our longest tenured employee ever, I would have to say that she has had as much influence on our history as anybody in our history. So we are what we are today in large measure because of Michelle and what she's been. We particularly wanted to do this today because there are so many members here of her beloved Commission on Public Relations Measurement and Evaluation. So we thank all of you for being here. Now, I was going to tell you the story of the first time that our Board of Trustees met Michelle. And what caused one of our lead trustees to say we thought Jack had lost his mind. But instead we have a video where Jack tells you that himself.
Thank you for asking me to say a few words about Michelle. It'll be tough to do it in a few words, but I will try to be brief. Through my long career, I've had the opportunity to hire a lot of very creative and talented people, but none the caliber of Michelle. She's the best hire I ever made, and a lot of you have heard me say that. When people ask, what did she do at the Institute, my answer was everything. And then I'd go ahead and say, she filled in the white spaces better than anybody I ever knew. And they'd look at me kind of strange, and then I explain. You know, if you look at an organization chart, there are little spaces, and they're little squares, and they all say what people do, where they report, and how the organization is organized. But if you notice on those charts, there's a lot of white space in between all those little squares. And then if you take an organization and chart its audiences, again, you find a listing of board of directors, employees, publicity, service, customers, and things like that. Again, white space all around all of those activities. And that's where Michelle did her very best work. I have names for those white spaces. I call them information, communications, service, publicity, sales, loyalty, and most of all, trust. Michelle became the voice of the Institute. If people needed to find something, who said what, in what place, and in what paper, she could nearly always find it for you. She was wonderful at finding things in the archives of the Institute. In fact, she was an encyclopedia for the Institute, and people used to call, even PRSA called frequently to find out research papers and part of the history of the industry. When we started out, we had a total of $12,000 in the bank. When Michelle left, the assets of the Institute were well over $500,000. We started out in the early days with a lunch in New York. It was with some of the top executives, some of the top people at agencies, and it was a small group. We talked about fundraising and about some of the kinds of research that the industry really needed. We decided to change that and make it into a big elaborate dinner, and make it a dinner that honored the best research in the industry. We had it all planned, except I suddenly had to go to the hospital for major surgery. Michelle went to New York. She had never done a banquet this size in her life. She did it perfectly well. It was a big success. And I found out that she'd never even been in New York before. From that, we started doing symposia on campus at the University of Florida. And because we had a wonderful setting and access to great facilities for rooms and for audiovisual activities, and we even had a very, very nice catering service, so we could invite a lot of the top executives in the public relations field to campus, particularly in the wintertime, and they were glad to come, and we started doing symposia. And from these became some of the very early research papers that we were able to circulate for the industry. You'll be amused that one of the first of those papers had to do with how public relations people were going to use the internet. It sounds ridiculous now, but at those days it was an important question. We also did another one on international public relations, asking the question, if we're in Rome, do we do as the Romans do, or do we keep our integrity and our U.S. practices the same there as we did here? One of the third symposia we did was one that is surprising when you look back at it, because it was years before 9/11, and that whole symposium was based on terror and the crisis that could give a company and a community. The one you're most interested in was the symposia that asked the question, can we measure public relations? And there was a question in those early days if we really could find a way to measure what we do. And that's the genesis of where this organization came into being, and the wonderful work all of you have done. Michelle did more than anybody I know to enhance the reputation of the Institute. In fact, she got so good at doing special events that many of the other professional organizations asked to borrow her all the time. And I thought that was great, because she could be even more of a goodwill ambassador in those kind of situations. The thing that she adds always in those white spaces is the enthusiasm, the fun, and the joy of the kind of work we do. And I'm sure she's going to take those same kind of talents to her new situation and do equally well. She's been a wonderful ambassador for the Institute. And Michelle, we thank you tremendously for filling in all those white spaces for us for the past 16 years. Good luck.
About 5 years ago, the Institute staff, remember then it was Michelle and myself, and we put a lot of thought into, we needed something that was not an award, not a prize, but was really a standard for showing our appreciation and affection for someone who had really done extraordinary things for the Institute. And so thus was born the Institute Decanter. Michelle has seen these given over the years to our distinguished lecturers, to retiring Institute officers. Today's the day she gets one of her own, and it says Michelle Hinson for 16 years of dedicated service, 1995 to 2011. Come on up, Michelle.
Real brief. I will. No. I would say that this was way better than the roast of Charlie Sheen, which you guys will see probably later. I've loved working at IPR. It was a fabulous 16 years. I'm still going to be working with the Commission and with IPRC, so I'm going away, but I'm not going gone. And I just wish everybody here just the best of luck, and enjoy your work and enjoy your life, because that's all there is.
Well, thanks everyone. It's we have a little bit of time, about 20 minutes before 1:30, and our next program session will start downstairs in the ballroom. We'll see you there then.
Don't bring it on the way home.
Hey, Jen, can you ship this for me?